I suppose everyone is wondering why I am wearing such apparently unseasonable clothes. I'll tell you, this is a uniform. It is the uniform of the American Association of Purity and Perfection, of which I am president, secretary, and treasurer, and the only man in the United States eligible to membership. I was 71 years old last Saturday, and when a man reaches that age, he has a right to arrogate to himself many privileges to which younger men cannot aspire. When you are over 71, you are privileged to dress in the fashion that conforms most to your comfort and enjoyment. I have reached the age where dark clothes have a depressing effect on me. Light-colored clothing is more pleasant to the eye and enlivens the spirit. Now, of course, I cannot compel everyone to wear such clothing just for my especial benefit, so I do the next best thing and wear it myself. Of course, before a man reaches my years, the fear of criticism might prevent him from indulging his fancy. I am not afraid of that. I prefer light clothing, colors, like those worn by the ladies at the opera. Whenever I go to the opera and see the men sitting around with those beautifully gowned ladies, they are no more cheering than a lot of old crows. If nobody else will wear colors that cheer me up, I shall wear them myself. Men's clothing is bad in color and generally uncomfortable. After all, what is the purpose of clothing? Are not clothes intended primarily to preserve dignity and also to afford comfort to the wearer? The finest clothing made is a person's own skin, but of course, society demands something more than that. The best-dressed man I have ever seen, however, was a native of the Sandwich Islands who attracted my attention 40 years ago. Now, when that man wanted to don a special dress to honor a public occasion or holiday, why, he occasionally put on a pair of spectacles. Otherwise, the clothing with which God had provided him sufficed. Clothes in our modern civilization are to preserve decency and for us to get as much comfort out of as possible. But how any man can get comfort out of the clothing made for men today, I cannot see. Nothing is more absurd, ungraceful, and uncomfortable than modern man's clothing, day or night. And at night, man wears the most ridiculous of all garbs, evening clothes. What can be more depressing than the somber black which custom requires me to wear on state occasions? Of course, I have ideas of dress reform. For one thing, why not adopt some of the women's styles? Goodness knows they adopt enough of ours. Why should we not learn from them? They always have beautiful fabrics, splendid colors, and moreover, women's clothes are always pretty. Take the peekaboo waist, for instance. It has the obvious advantages of being cool and comfortable, and in addition, it is almost always made up in pleasing colors, which cheer and do not depress. I would go back to the Middle Ages for the gorgeous, glorious, gaudy costumes of that time. Then we could wear colors. Back to the days before buttons were invented, when they laced their clothing up, and it took a little time to do it. Back to the days of tights and helmet. Yes, I admit that it might be uncomfortable for a bald-headed man wearing a tightly screwed-on helmet with a bee or fly imprisoned therein. It is true that I dressed the Connecticut Yankee at King Arthur's court in a plug hat, but let's see, that was 25 years ago. Then, no man was considered fully dressed until he donned a plug hat. Nowadays, I think that no man is dressed until he leaves at home in the tightly tied box in which it came from the hatters. Why, when I left home yesterday, they trotted out a plug hat for me to wear. You must wear it, they told me. Why, just think of going to Washington without a plug hat. But I said no, I would wear a derby or nothing. Why, I believe I could walk along the streets of New York. I never do, but I still think I could. And I should never see a well-dressed man wearing a plug hat. If I did, I should suspect him of something. I don't know what, but I would suspect him. Why, when I got up on the second story of that Pennsylvania ferry boat coming down here yesterday, I saw Howells coming along. He was the only man on the boat with a plug hat, and I tell you, he felt ashamed of himself. He said he had been persuaded to wear it against his better sense. But just think of a man nearly 70 years old who hasn't a mind of his own on such matters. But I am not here to talk fashions, but copyright law. If you had 10 authors and an equal number of publishers in Congress, more would be known of copyright laws. With 25,000 bills of Congress coming in, I don't see how members have an opportunity to even read the titles. Congress is made up of lawyers, agriculturists, and all sorts of persons with all sorts of opinions gained by experience. But men will not study the copyright laws unless they have been both author and publisher. I have been both author and publisher and have been smashed. There are women who write, idiots and well-meaning persons who write, who know nothing about copyright, but I profess to have some knowledge on this subject. There are between 5,000 and 7,000 books issued every year. 10 may live 28 years, the first period of the present copyright, and 2 to be renewed to bring them up to the 42-year limit. Then the author dies and his children starve. I shall hardly get into heaven before my children will have no book on which to live. Out of all the 150,000 books published during the last half-century, but 2 have been extended to the 42-year term period. One of them is Science and Health by Mrs. Mary Baker Eddy, and the other is my own Innocents Abroad.